welcome everybody. I'm going to talk about email validation or finding using regular expressions. Regular expressions are a really powerful tool which is available for almost every programming language and has some libraries for it. We have many use cases for that. We can also use it in Google Analytics for checking, for example, region or some parts of the tracking systems to get the whole scope of them. So regular expression is the character sequence which defines the search pattern. We can use it for validating the string, for example, email, or to get some parts of the content and use it, for example, for find and replace in text editors. So it's sometimes it's for really simple cases, but we can use it for many other sophisticated searches. So RegEx history, short about it. So formal language, very mathematical briefs started in 50s, and we got some better syntax and some standards in after 80s. So here we have the POSIX, which is mostly used in databases and operation software programs. And Perl influenced many other languages with PCRA in the 97, and next version, brand new, I will say 2015. So the basics is the character classes at the beginning. We can match any character or specific set. We can also use the negation of some set or ranges. We can use also anchors, which is mostly we use it for checking the start of the end of the whole string, which we, for example, the URL. We expect to have the HTTPS on the front, something like that, on the end to take last query parameter. We can also set boundary of the words to check word content. Sometimes we have special characters, so we need to escape them. This is the way how we do it. The most well-known are tabulation, new line, and return carriage. So the next thing is grouping. It's more for getting the content, for capturing the groups of which we desire to handle in the result and just process it. So we can also skip the group. For example, maybe later I will show it. And we have the positive look ahead, which is checking something but not consuming the phrase. So, for example, password validation. We can use many checks on one shot, but we don't consume the output of the word. And negative look ahead, we just look it with negation. We don't expect something on the front. We have also quantifiers and alternation. Alternation is we have, for example, two words, Poland and England, and we could call it Europe, for example. And so we make a set of these two words together and make one or a second on another to pass the query against some parameters, for example. And we can also we have also quantifiers, which tell us how many times we can repeat some character or group in our query. So here is an example of finding and replace with Visual Editor. So maybe it's quite lower font, but here we have some space and expectation about some colon, the group of the symbol to change. Here is the set of characters, lower characters and alphanumeric with underscore, and it should appear at least once. And next is just next chars, and this regular expression makes change the old notation in Ruby in hash rockets to new JSON style notation. So we have also here this group numbers. Sorry. So the first one is this named better use boundary group. So here we have this replace with. We use it for the substitution. In this chart we have we can see this result also here. So null with symbol is changed into the null, and after that is the colon, and that's the transformation of it. We can have 10 groups to use it and in replacing something. This is the ground of the, I would say, of the regular expressions, like in math abstraction. We can combine the graph which define how it works, the regular expression. So it's more intuitive and easy to understood for anybody, I think. We don't need to understand every character, special characters in regular expression. And these graphs are very powerful tool which made our regular expression this way in the past. So this is the principle of the regular expressions behind the math notation. So we have free tools in the web to look at it and just convert it to graph from the regular expression. So here is the very short expression about validating some notation of the statement. Here we have some group with Adam or Piotr, some space which is not necessary. You can jump it over, and here we have some equal or greater signs, and next space, and some double quoted also alternation of pieniądz and cuckoo. So here we have the matches. So we test it somehow. So here the background yellow is the good match, and the last sentence is wrong. So the word is wrong on the right side of the statement. So that's the reason why we have the problem here. Here we have the next use case. It's more about validating if some string is proper according to the regex. In Rails we use very easy relaxed checker of the in the device of the email. So here we have just not ampersand sign, ampersand, and next not ampersand signs to check if email is right. So it's not sophisticated one, but we have very popular topic in the how it's named? Stack Overflow, yes. about how to validate email with the regex. We have many RFC about that, and they simplified it to because it was generated by some code, so it was really not easy to understand, but they simplified it to this one. I colorized this character sets with the yellow background to easy to get them. And on the left we have the result, right result also with the yellow background. So sometimes we can use also IPs in the emails and so on. This RFC allows it. So it's maybe not familiar for us because we don't use, for example, localhost address for emails, but it is RFC some kind state dot. So here we have the presentation of the username before the ampersand. Here we have the after ampersand validation of the number are really number ranges are hard to get with the regular expressions. They are not supposed to do it. This is not just hard to achieve, but visualizing that is really beneficial. It's very hard to get, and those very long statements for regular expressions. But maybe it's confusing, but think about it in different way. How to do it with that different scenario. What else can we use for that? It's not easy to achieve this with other tools, so we should stick to these regular expressions in that use cases. So we can simplify it in developing those regular expressions by just splitting it into small pieces. Here we have just extracted the char sets, and this original regular expression is quite easier to understand. The quantifiers are still maybe bigger task to understand, but still is better. We can split it into functional way also, and it makes next times smaller and easier to understand. So we shouldn't also overuse regular expression because it's hard to understand them by just saying just we don't want to see it very often because it's quite difficult to understand them. So we have Ruby methods to just checking that with when we start or end with something includes some substring. We can jump, get lines, or split it with just substrings. So it's quite more meaningful for the reader, and we can use libraries which we can just split it into the parts by common concepts like URI or file or markup languages. We shouldn't use it regular expressions for parsing the language. We have very different way to put statements into different strategies also. So we have Reaper for that in Ruby, for example, and markup languages are also parsed by more secure gems in the Ruby and more efficient also. So how to get the clear regular expressions? We should extract common parts in alternation to get the alternation shorter. We should put more likely things on the front on the alternation. We get everything by example, so this is good to understand it faster. We can use comments and white space also if we don't if we cannot break it into variables like in Ruby, sometimes we need to put like in analytics with the just raw regular expression. So we can also name the captured groups and skip which groups are only for alternation, for example, in the result. So we can also the splitting part of the logical pieces, and we can also lint code in the Ruby, and they can also return our ranges, which are covering the same thing with some warning, and you can fix it. I really admire the work of the RegEx, which visualize the graphs with the cheat sets on the regular expression. Their graphs were in the email example, for example. So here you have. We don't have visualization plugin for Visual Studio Code. I feel it's lacking, and nice editor with colorized code is in regex.com. We can save it also and make some examples to test it against some patterns. And Robular is just to be sure if it's compatible with Ruby. So we have some smaller distinction about the Perl and other regular expressions. And this is nice site about information about advanced stuff about Ruby expressions. It's regularexpressions.info, and in Google we have also description about regular expressions in Google Analytics. I put the links here, so it's not how to learn to write it, but the possibilities of the RegEx in Google Analytics. So that's all from me. Thank you for listening.